Since today we have a more intimate crew, so I would turn it from a pure presentation into more of a discussion, because I think for anyone who showed up here, I think you will have a really meaningful time spent here. So let me just say a little bit about my past 10 years in observing Agile and how it's being used in the organization. Every company says that they are doing Agile now, right? But every company secretly admit that they are struggling with it. If you think about this, why, right? Every company is not made up just by R&D people. They're made up of many different departments, right? Sales, implementation, hosting, support, HR, marketing, finance, accounting, just name a few, right on top of my head. Everyone would have developed some kind of processes to localize, to optimize their local process, right? And then Agile walks into the door saying, hey, by the way, guys, we have the best idea, so why don't you all gravitate towards me and let's do something together. Everybody else goes, huh? Hey, what is it? How is that different from any of the process we have adopted and developed over the last, I don't know, since beginning of the dawn of time the company existed. So what does make Agile special in their minds? Really, nothing. Nothing. Now, I'm a big proponent of Agile. I'm the director of PMO. I'm putting everybody in my company, MatrixCare, to do Agile. So obviously, I wanted to succeed. But we really, really have to figure out a way to make it successful. So that's why I'm bringing this topic to all of you guys, because we can explore how to make it really work for all of us and for the company. So, this is the first problem that Agile does not succeed. Everybody optimizes for themselves. From a personal perspective, you can think of QA people, right? What they want tests to be, they want code to be well written. They want tests to be clear. They want acceptance criteria to be written well. What does the developer want? They want write code as fast as they can. They want what does the product manager want? They want features to be out there tomorrow. Well, better yet, yesterday. What does finance people want? Well, finance people want some kind of forecasting ability to know what my spend will be, right? What does marketing want? They want conversion rate. They want market attention, retention rates. So everybody optimizes for their own benefits. Nobody is trying to optimize for the global throughput. That is the first problem, why Agile is just part of the big organization. It's not end-all, be-all stuff, right? So here are different examples of how, support. Support. I ask my support people, what do you care the most? They say, we care about how many calls we can take every hour. I'm like, oh, okay. How does that, how is R&D's work going to impact that? That's what they care about the most. They really don't care whether we use Agile or use whatever the next buzzword they're going to have. They want to know how much support call they can do within an hour and successfully complete customers' problems, right? So if you are not within that organization, if you are an outsider looking into that organization, be it finance, marketing, or someone outside of R&D, they look at us, you know what they say? They think we're all headless chickens because we're an outsider. That is why we need to find a way to not be a headless chicken, to explain what we do and sync up all the processes that people have. So I give you here's a little story that this is what initially prompted me to thinking about this topic. This is a company that starts with a B. You can guess which company that is. It's a really giant global retail company. What happened, right? In a giant conference room, probably bigger than this one, a whole boatload of project managers and Scrum Master was standing there trying to appeal to some big head, big shot, about their budget proposal. They'll pull up numbers, they pull up spreadsheets, they pull up line items. They're really desperately trying to convince them their project is worth doing. All right. By the way, they secretly call all these big shot headless chickens because because here's why. Because all those numbers, all those spreadsheets, they're all made up. Every single one of them. And they all know. All the project managers, probably more than a dozen, every week, you will see them, more than a dozen of them. They all know the numbers are made up. Now, sometimes I wonder, does the big shots know the numbers are made up? I think they do. But they still do it. Why? Why do they do this? Why do they waste all the time? Because finance in this company is the king. Their process control everything. So what do? They say, every quarter of the first year, every first quarter of the year, we will not allow any project to go through. It's a financial freeze, what they call it. After the freeze, everyone go to appeal to them. Here's how much my budget. Here's how much budget I want. Here's how big my project is. And then if you're a good project manager, you're gonna stretch that budget all the way through next year's freeze. Otherwise, you're gonna lose half your team. Think about how an agile environment would work in this thing. It wouldn't, because first you have to do a waterfallish, project estimation that you make up a whole bunch of stuff. Then you might lose half your team at the end of the year, and you can rehire them later after the first quarter, the next year. So you lose the sticky team. You have to do big budget estimation, and you couldn't figure out why finance make you go through all those troubles. So that's why you call them the headless chicken. And there is a key, actually, to solve this problem. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So here I would like to introduce the organizational attention model. Organizational attention wasn't a new concept. It was from 1997. It's socially structured pattern of attention evidenced by decision makers within the organization. This is a little awkward to read, but essentially it's saying, how does a company persistently make decisions and where they pivot their attention to be? Now, we need to extend this a little bit further given today's globalization, given our goal is to get everyone put together. So I extended this to have the following characteristics. Attention isn't just lip service. It's not my attention or your attention. It's the organizational attention. So that attention commands focus, commands effort. That means action. People, when an organization pay attention to you, they actually are doing something for your demands. Demands can be project issues, items, whatever you want to throw at them. So attention means action, means focus, means effort. Second one, attention is kind of currency. Why do I say this? If you think about your CEO or your executive groups, they are the richest people in the organization. Not just, they get paid highest, sure. But they're richest because when they commit on something, the whole organization pivot to actually do it. It brings the entire organizational attention together to whatever the thing that they want to do. So that's why they're the richest. They have the highest currency. You also have influential people in your organization who don't maybe hold the executive position. But when they see something, people do it too, because they have the currency. Now, organizational as a currency, it's limited. It's not, boundless. So every time you send the demands to an organization, to a group, you are spending their organizational attention. If you do too many of them, demands come in too fast, what happens? That group goes into a attention disorder syndrome. They split their attention too much. And lastly, this explains why people develop process, because process can help you to lower the cost of that attention. The cost is lower, so you can do more. That's why people develop process for it. Now, this is the attention itself, explaining what attention is. Now, we're making it a model so that you can actually use it as a way to improve your organization, understand what's happening. So let's look at an example. Traditional software development. Traditional software development has this kind of attention pattern, if I put it in the model. At the beginning of time, that's when the attention is highest. Remember, attention means effort and focus. That means all the organizational attention is on the beginning of time. Then the project goes dark. Then it will only arise when you either go through a release or it run into a problem. Then the attention goes up. And when that's gone, and the attention goes back down. So this, it partially explains why traditional project management fall into some kind of unpredictable behaviors or issues. Because when do they need attention the most is when they go dark. That's the implementation phase, because execution is strategic. Now, how does Agile work? What's the model for Agile? This is what it looks like. Agile never commands a high organizational attention at the beginning, but it does not allow it to drop too low. Because it goes through an iterative process of demo, release, demo, release, demo, release. So you grab attention from everybody back over and over. Remember, again, attention means effort, means resource, means intelligence, means people are paying attention to you. So that's why Agile is more likely to work. But it doesn't if your organization is splintered without synergy. So let's show you an example of what happens if you don't have synergy. So finance. Here's the finance attention. Finance always pays highest attention at the beginning of the year and the end of the year. That's how finance works. They think very little with either Agile or traditional project management. By the way, this is that big company I just talked about. This is exactly what their model is. They go through the beginning of the year, go through the end of the year. In the middle, you never hear from them. They just block you every step of the way. Let's look at one more example. This is hosting. I don't know who has dealt with hosting in your life. I have done plenty of times. And hosting looks like this. What you notice is that in this gray bar, their attention is never high. They don't have high organizational attention to give to anyone. Why is that? It's probably because they have way too much demands at any given time. So they're stuck in this firefighter mode. They're always stuck. That's why hosting appear to be irresponsive, and they are always in chaos. Okay, so the problem. So that's the problem that we can see. Now, how do we fix it? How do we address the issue? We know the organizational attention now. We know there's a model we can use to draw what your organization looks like. So how do we get the organizational attention and line them up, right? So there's a very simple 3 steps to do. Now, the simple 3 steps principle, it's simple, right? How do you do it? Okay, the first one is obtain focus. You get focus from someone. I'm not saying getting attention, because the end goal is getting their attention, the organizational attention. You first get focus. 3 ways to get focus, right? One is your best friend with the organization's head. If he or she invites you to her wedding, you get her attention, right? Second way, okay, maybe is your organization do something for them, and they will more likely to do it for you. You know, we humans are hardwired with, to be reciprocal, so it's good to take advantage of that. The third way is to bring down the executive hammer, but that's your last ultimatum. Don't use it. Unless you absolutely have to. Once you get the focus, right, then now you can measure what the focus is. People go through different stages. Organization does the same thing. Stage 1 is that they have low commitment and low engagement. Engagement means they come to you and they say, they come to you, try to understand what your demand is. Commitment is they do what they say what they do, right? That's commitment. And then once they progress through the first stage, you want to get them to stage 2 or stage 3, depending on how well you can manage them. They might have high commitment, they start doing stuff, but they never talk to you. Then that's where misalignment happens. Or they keep coming at you, try to understand what they need to do, but then they never get around to do it. That's usually a time management issue. You need to help them to clear up their roadmap so they can start doing it. But where you want them to be is in stage 4, where they have high commitment and high engagement. Once you do that, you align interest. It's not about aligning goals, because our goals is never going to be aligned. Marketing goal is not going to align with R&D goal. Finance goal is not going to align with R&D goal. So it's not about aligning goals. It's about aligning interest. Because interest can be measured. Yes, please.
I just had a question. So in the little table there, I mean, is competence part of that as well?
When it gets down to individual things, yes, competence is part of it. But here we're talking about the entire organization, and we assume they can do what they need to do in this model, because this isn't to explore how to improve the capability. Okay, so this is given that everyone can do what they need to do, what you would need them to do.
Okay, yeah, no, I've seen the table that's similar to that, but it's commitment and competence.
Sure, yeah. In here I go engagement because that's interest can almost always be measured in 2 ways. One is money. Can you raise their budget or get them more money or lower their cost? But all just money. Another is time. Time is a crucial thing. So think about this. If you invented a new process that can make your life easier, but ask 10 times more work for, say, accounting, would they still line up with you? They won't. So the interest is always money and time. So you can always line on these two. You don't have to line up goals. You have to line up with their interests. And finally, once you have that, you understand their interest, then you can start to revamp process and redevelop process. Remember, process lower the cost of organizational attention. So you can help them and help yourself to get together. So that's the 3 steps to take advantage of this organizational attention model. I want to show you what happens when you do obtain their organizational attention. Because now you lined up the process, you lined the interest, you have their focus, then it becomes almost like a resonance. Everyone feed off this positive energy, positive synchronization that going together. So what happens, right? The sum game is way bigger than all the different parts. I mean, that's where you want to go, right? That's where you want to go. So here is different examples of how this you could possibly line up your interests and do something. I want to focus on finance part because that's really a kicker for me and for a lot of people, right? So in finance, what they care about the most, a predictable spend model. A predictable model where they can say, next year, here's how much money we can spend. Here's how much money we're gonna need to put in the cost center to support our R&D expenditures. How do you do that, right? How do you do that through Agile? This is why Agile is almost always at war with finance. In every company I've been to, unless your company is only focused on building the best software for the world, and you have no money problem whatsoever, like no unlimited amount of money, right? Which is like Google or something. And most people don't work for those companies. Because in the traditional software development, it's easy. You say, here's our big study of how much it will cost, here's how much it will cost, and we're going to run this based on the budget. And let's hope we're never wrong. And at least on paper, it looks great. And then finance can say, hey, this is the money I'm going to project, and here's how much I'm going to put into you. Here's a tax study, taxation, and blah, blah, blah. And they can do it. Agile goes, no, we don't do any of this. Your spend is our run rate. Our run rate is whatever the run rate is. And I don't know if my scope is going to go beyond 1 week or 2 years or 3 years. I don't know. We're going to release over and over, and we're going to make money. We care about making money. We don't care about cost control. So that's why finance people don't play nice with Agile people. But it can be done. We in my company, MatrixCare, we use Power BI as a powerful tool to do projection of current spend level and the future spend level. We tie it up with velocity spend points, and we say, hey, here's our enterprise velocity for every single team. And even though velocity is different from every single team, you know what? We know the spend of every single team. And then we make them do t-shirt sizing, so we know how much in the grand scheme of things, directionally, where their spend is going to be. And we project this week after week, every week. After about 2 or 3 months, you start to build this model out of this PowerPoint, Power BI. And then finance now use that as their project model for next year. So that's how we do it. I can share more detail on those with you guys if you're interested. But in this presentation, we'll just say that's how we do it, right? People try to solve the synchronization with hosting through DevOps, which is why DevOps become a firestorm that took over half of the Agile and entire IT world, right? Because really, they're all trying to get together to synchronize. Marketing. Marketing is interesting. If you build a new product, the marketing has never tried to market. They will always first say, you can't do it. Then they will say, oh, that's a great idea, but how can we do this? Then you have to come up with either acquire new, buy new equipment, get new process to help them to understand how to do demos, how to do trade shows of the new ones, and then get them to understand now the way to retain customer is different from the past. Because in the past you produce giant README. Today you do a quick what's next, right? Or what's new. So it's different. So you have to realign marketing whenever you have a new product. Ultimately, this is what happens. If you can align everybody, if your process does work, this is what it looks like. So again, we have an agile process in the middle. It makes everyone gravitate to it. And here's the finance model. Finance, you can never get away from that. They have to focus their attention at the beginning of the year because that's how it works. But what you want to do is you want finance to always re-engage back to you, to your process, to your agile process. Be it release, be it your beginning of the iteration or end of iteration. You want them to get back to it so that they can build out this predictive model. Hosting, for example, I listed hosting here because in my previous graph, you remember hosting is like, I cannot give attention to anything, right? So what do you need to do? Get DevOps in your team. If you don't have one, get one. Because then they can sync up hosting and pull hosting up away from the fires and get in sync with your development process. So that hosting, when your interest peak, what does that mean when your attention peak? That means you're either doing a release or you're doing a demo, right? When your attention peak in the organization, hosting's interest peak, attention peak. When their attention peak, they actually do something, either setting up your server, setting up your release process, get the playbook. This is all of those, we call it demands. All of the demands adds up into their attention, into propping their attention up to be in sync with you. So we can throw other ones in there, hosting, support in there. We can throw marketing in there. What you want is they all somewhat line up with your attention model. If you can draw this for your organization, then you'll say, okay, now we're really synced up. Okay, so I just want to show you results of MatrixCare, trying this for about 2.5 years. And so when we did it, at the beginning, we go through 3 stages. This is the first stage. In the first stage, everyone seems like they're giving up something because they have to, remember, they have to do what? They have to remodify their process. And they have to do away their local optimization. They have to give up something, compromise. Everyone feels like they're compromised, but they all understand this is for greater good. After a while, people don't feel like they're compromised anymore. They feel that, they now understand, they have a clarity of where the whole organization is going. They don't feel like they're compromised anymore. They settle down into the new norm. But that's only the second stage. When you get to the third stage, everyone feeds off this positive energy that that the synchronized process applies. So today, for example, yesterday, I was approving some timesheets for my people. When I do that, all my people no longer complain timesheets being a wasted effort, because that's how everybody complains. Timesheets, I'm going to put 40 hours in there. It's always going to be 40 hours. Why do I even need to do it? A lot of people complain it. I complain about it until we synced up the timesheet process with our agile process and with our accounting process. So what happens now is timesheet is a trigger for accounting side to do taxation. They call it tax study and capitalization. So by doing the timesheet correctly, setting up based on the agile principle, which I can tell you guys later, when we go to Q&A, we can get $400,000 back to our R&D just through taxation alone. And that has never happened before. $400,000 back. Then everyone now understand that means more toys for R&D. So we bought the best tools, like Microsoft got this HoloLens. We said we're going to buy it just because we want to study and what it does for fun. And then we bought Alexa. We bought every single voice tool just because we now have money. Where did the money come from? From your timesheets. Oh my God, how could that happen? Never happened before. So every time we acquire a new company, we get them to go through this process. And they go like, why do we need to do this? I'm like, because you can get more money back. They're like, oh. So the results, the ultimate results, I'm really proud to say that for 20 years in a row, we have never gained the best-in-class thing. And now we got it. And we're never going to give it back. Because we can now beat our competitor, make an organizational fit, and outcompete our competitor. Because everybody now play nice, synchronize together, get energy out of it. So that is the organizational attention model and how you can use it to advance your cause. So I'm open for questions. You see how my time is doing. Okay, great, 10 minutes. So any questions about the model, about how to use it, details of how you sync up with different departments, groups?
Do you see any, or have you seen any difficulties with just, getting everybody to, even agree on the idea that we need to pay attention to these things?
Yeah. There's always difficulty, but I have a different presentation which is not here. That's called managing up and managing to the side. So number one is we have to manage up to get everyone above us. Unless you're the CEO, then But if you're not the CEO, we need to be able to manage up to get everyone to buy into ideas. And managing up, I will just say very quickly what managing up. How do we do manage up? The best way to manage up is that you give them proposal, not refusal. You give them proposal, give them a consequence, give them a benefits, give them the pro-cons analysis. And don't make too many of them. Just emphasize the top 2 or top 3 of each pros and cons. And then when your manager or your manager's manager, or whoever is up there that need to look at this, they know what you're trying to achieve, and different routes of which you can achieve. They sometimes will tell you to rethink about it, but oftentimes they will more inclined to take one. When they take one, what happens here is that when they take one, they say, this looks interesting, let's give it a try. So instantly, he's pivoting whoever his organization is managing. So in my case, for example, I can pivot hosting. I'm not hosting, I'm the director of PMO, but I can pivot my entire hosting to what I say, not because I told them so. That's because I can manage up my boss, then my boss manage up hosting director, then hosting director pivot the entire organization to do the DevOps stuff. So that's the key. If you just try to purely do it on a relationship-based thing, it's a lot harder. That's why managing up is, in my opinion, that's the key to get everyone lined up.
Have you found through managing up that you can, basically create a demand from the people above you in the absence of any kind of direction?
I think so. So when you manage up, because you always throw proposals out there, right? Every proposal comes with an action. Every action is a demand. What happens here is, that's both of my experience, because some people are trying to manage up me right now, right? Is every day as a manager, the bigger the manager, the higher up they are, the less time they can have to every single thing that come at them. So whichever has the clearest demand that outline in a confined parameter, he will more likely to green light that one. And by managing up, because you give them the clearest one, you can probably filter out all the other noises. A lot of people, I got a lot of emails saying, hey, Henry, how about this? He writes a 5-minute email. When I read through, if I read through, I don't know what he wants. So I say, what do you exactly want out of me? Please send me an email again. Just explain, what do you want? So managing up is to drive demand. And the demand is to filter out everybody else's noise so that your manager or your higher up will be able to make that an execution and pivot organizational attention. That makes sense? Any other question from other people?
How do you reconcile the different areas, development, finance? We're trying to optimize. They're trying to optimize for their areas, and we're trying to optimize testing or QA.
Right. So so remember what I said. We can never try to make them align in a goal. Okay. You don't try to do a goal alignment because it won't work. Finance, their goal is different from R&D. They're not going to work. Optimization comes from either you save them time. So here's how I did it. I'll just tell you how I did it. I say, hey, we really like to track every project. We have 1,000 projects throughout the year. Big projects, small projects for clients. We like to track every project. Why don't you guys like it? I want to say you, I mean the finance people. They're like, do you know how hard it is for us to then reconcile all these projects into the correct taxation and capitalization, and then try to give you the pay, this contractor joined in and contractor drop out. He joined in that project and he dropped out. I mean, it's a nightmare for us. So that's why they don't want it. So what we did is we said, okay, I see. For you guys, time saving is the biggest one. Then how do I develop a process of which that save time for you and still provide clarity for me? So instead of project-based timesheet entry, what we did is product-based. We say, everybody who contributes to this product, regardless of which project you're working on, your time bucket is divided in such and such and such. Clearly lay out feasibility and implementation phase. So even though it's agile, we use some tricks on the booking and to make it very clear, indicative to the finance people. So when they take in, instead of 1,000 projects they're now managing, they used to manage, now they manage about, I would say about 30 or so big product related project throughout the year. They're extremely happy. They're like, Henry, you made this company $400,000 a year for tax purpose. You saved us endless hours of things. So if I ask them to do something, they're going to do it for me. That's how we align our interests, not goal.
Very good.
Yeah. Any other questions? We have about 5 minutes. All right. Well,
Thanks, Henry.
okay. Thank you.